Moxley's got Punk hooked up again! Oh man, Punk is limp. The high angle, he's limp.
Shock value. Many people would say that professional wrestling as a whole has become generally quite predictable. There's only so many more storylines, moves, spots, finishes, or matches that can be produced on a weekly running television series. Similar to how The Simpsons naturally ran out of entertaining ideas for episodes, the idea is that professional wrestling will run out of stories to tell, whether it be outside of the ring or inside. For the most part, that's true. Most matches are fairly predictable if you've watched wrestling for as long as some of us have. However, the one thing that professional wrestling has on The Simpsons is the all-important backup, the ace in the back pocket, the fact that professional wrestling is a sport, and in sports, anything can happen at any time. Sports are the greatest drama that man has ever created, and in many ways, the fundamental reason for the success of sport is the unpredictable nature of a game. Whether it be basketball, soccer, tennis, or Formula One racing, the idea is that anything can happen at any time and anyone can win. It's the unpredictable nature that keeps us hooked. In professional wrestling, most main event title matches are 20-minute battles. Wars between two of the most evenly matched and two of the best professional wrestlers in the company and in the world. These matches tend to follow the anime route of battling, where combatants fight to the last inch of their energy to outdo their opponents. An arm wrestle of the longest kind, where 1% is the difference between victory and loss. Those matches are great. In fact, some of the all-time classics and the most memorable matches in history are these Broadway matches, and let's be honest, there's a reason why. The stories told in these matches are usually the most memorable and have the most crowd investment emotionally, but eventually the value of these matches is forgotten with every passing one. More and more, they get lost in the shuffle of great matches, and they get less and less special the more common they become. Every so often, as fans, we need a shock to our system. Something to reset us and our wrestling minds, but also, potentially more importantly, to let us know that what we are watching is not an anime, not The Simpsons, but in fact, what we are watching is a work of a live sport. Regardless of your thoughts on how much of a work professional wrestling actually is, the fact remains that at the end of the day, it's what the industry has sold itself on, and in sports, anything can happen at any time. Enter CM Punk versus Jon Moxley for the unification of the AEW World Championship. A match that I, and I'm sure 99% of people, thought was a foregone conclusion going into. I'm not sure what the determining factors were that led to this result backstage, and I'm positive that the original plan when CM Punk got injured differed to what we've ended up receiving, but this match and the result will go down as the most shocking in AEW's history to date. In an overwhelming majority of cases, an injured champion returning will go on to defeat their first contender, whether it be an interim champion or number one contender. Storytelling wise, it's quite jarring when a returning champion loses because his reign was virtually useless. And in many ways, I feel like that with regards to CM Punk and his empty 87-day reign. In other ways, I feel more invested in CM Punk as a wrestler now than I have been since his start at AEW. There are so many ways that Tony Khan can play this hand, and backstage politics notwithstanding, the options he has at his fingertips when it comes to the booking of both CM Punk and Jon Moxley has now become virtually endless. Instantaneously after Jon Moxley pinned CM Punk, and my brother, who hates CM Punk, had finished laughing, I posed the question, what exactly is happening at All Out? Do we have a world title match? Is CM Punk now kayfabe injured again? Is he going away? If he doesn't challenge Moxley at All Out, who does? The All Out card is already stacked, but it really needs a big money title match. I'm hooked to know what happens and how this plays out. On the CM Punk side, my interest is piqued for two reasons. One, when does he return, and can he climb back up the mountain to undo the car crash of his first title reign? By the way, crazy how jumping into the fans was what caused all of this. And two, does he come back still a babyface? The boos he received on Dynamite after the news of the backstage drama was evident for all to hear, and CM Punk himself said that people would eventually be bored of cheering him when he returned to AEW. The CM CM Punk lean into the rumors and begin to be the anti-AEW guy. Other than the feud that Punk wanted to do with MJF, I see no reason as to why CM Punk shouldn't turn heel. With Kenny Omega now being a tweener type wrestler, with MJF off television, with Adam Cole injured and generally tied up with Kenny Omega and the Elite for the rest of the year potentially, AEW probably needs more heels at the top of the card. And CM Punk is a damn good heel. On Jon Moxley's side, man does this guy deserve the run he's been on. The turnaround that Jon Moxley has gone through these last 9 months is truly phenomenal and a testament to the man himself. I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that the way he's turned his life and his career around is borderline inspirational, and I hope his second run as world champion is as good as his first. When Moxley was champion during his first reign, I actually told my brother that he would be the first 2-time champion, and in my recent video about Hangman Adam Page, I reiterated that prediction, with my only exception to the rule being Hangman himself, who I thought had a chance at that title, mainly because I didn't see Moxley beating CM Punk. Jon Moxley is a deserving 2-time champion. AEW really took it to the next level when they signed him, and his work with New Japan Pro Wrestling was one of the major factors to opening the forbidden door between the two companies. He's truly one of the most pivotal pieces to AEW's success. I don't know where his reign goes from here. I can see him being champion until the end of the year. I could see him dropping the belt at All Out. Nothing is off the table, and generally speaking, when things are this unpredictable, it gets people theorizing and thinking more about what the possibilities are, and in turn has them tuning into Dynamite to see what the results are and where the story goes. I think shock value in professional wrestling is one of the most effective tools in building crowd and fan engagement. The element of not knowing what is happening next is one of the strongest weapons a promoter can pull out, but it isn't something that should be overused either. If anything, up until now, I think AEW has underused it, and when it comes to the AEW World title, I'm really happy that the first 4 champions had genuine, long-term, strong title reigns. I've said it before, the first 4 champions were different, and I'm certain as time goes by, we will look at those title reigns with a certain esteem and prestige. Not everyone can have a 100+ day title reign with several title defenses and quality matches. Eventually, the reality of the sport is that there will be a shock loss and a shorter match than expected. One of my biggest pet peeves in professional wrestling is ad breaks during a match. What are the odds that matches never finish during ad breaks if this was a genuine competition? It's like if the ice hockey went into overtime and they decided to cut to ad break for 2 minutes. It makes no sense and really kills the whole work. Professional wrestling should always hold that allure. Anything can happen at any time, so keep your eyes on the screen. The G1 Climax does this relatively well during its group matches. You can have matches that last 2 to 5 minutes of just quick pin attempts and action. You can have slower matches that never really get started before they're over. You could have a standard 12 to 15 minute match, matches that really push the competitors to the brink at 20 or 25 minutes. And every so often, it will go to a time limit draw at 30 minutes, although this is incredibly rare, as it should be. Granted, the world title matches, the finals of the G1, and the main event of Wrestle Kingdom are traditionally longer matches, but New Japan Pro Wrestling tries its best to mix different lengths of matches, which is something I'd like to see AEW adopt. But then again, in general, New Japan Pro Wrestling is a more sport-based style of professional wrestling compared to AEW. The camera shot of CM Punk looking back as he's being helped out of the arena on one leg, that for me is the money shot. That for me is something that we're going to look back on in 2, 3, 4 months, if and when CM Punk returns. That could potentially be a big money shot. I mean, an absolute massive money shot. That stare was something different. There was story in that. That was planned by Punk, I think. I think this loss is going to play into a storyline, and I hope it does. I hope it does. For me, the ideal scenario is Moxley goes on a nice 3-4 month title reign. You take Punk off of television. You give him time to really heal. You give the locker room, I guess, a bit of time to heal from his absence as well, and you bring him back as a heel as well. Well, that was a lot of heels, but 2 different ways of using the word. 2 different words, but Yeah, you let things blow over with Hangman, and I think you go full-blown CM Punk against the crowd, against the company, heel mode, beats Moxley, and goes into a program against Hangman Adam Page, and probably beats Page as well, and then I don't know what you want to do from there. But I think that's the general path that I would take. What would you guys do with this situation right now? What would you do with Moxley? What would you do with Punk? I'm sure there's a lot of options, so I'd like to read how you guys would book this situation. If you did enjoy today's video, do leave a like on it. Thank you very much for the support. As always, you guys are smashing it, as always. If you haven't liked it yet and you got this far, I'm pretty sure you liked the video. So click the button, it helps out in the algorithm and gets new eyes onto these videos. So I appreciate everybody that does. I appreciate it if you just watch as well. I hope you guys are happy. I hope you guys are healthy. I will see you in the next one soon. Stay stunning.